There is a woman in this galaxy who has never lost a battle. Not once. Not ever. Entire armies have turned around just hearing her name. Planets have surrendered before she even arrived. 3 different alien empires have put a price on her head, and every single one of those empires is gone now. Her name is Commander Seraphine Vielle, and nobody warned Marcus Cole that she would become the most important person in his entire life. But here is the part that will shock you. Marcus never saw her face when he chose her. He was blindfolded, standing in a room full of strangers, on a planet he had never visited before. And somehow, out of everyone in that room, he pointed directly at the most dangerous woman in the known galaxy. The universe was never ready for what happened next. In this story, you are going to discover 3 things that will blow your mind completely. First, you will find out why a simple human soldier was brought to an alien selection ceremony in the first place. Second, you will learn what Seraphine was hiding beneath that armor. And it was not just strength. Third, you will see exactly how one blindfolded choice changed the fate of every human being alive. This is not just a love story. This is a story about courage, about the things we feel when we cannot see, about what happens when the most dangerous woman in the galaxy decides to trust someone for the very first time. Let me show you exactly how this happened. Marcus Cole had never planned to leave Earth. He was 31 years old. He had a small apartment in Manchester, England. He drank too much coffee. He stayed up too late reading old science fiction novels. He worked as a mid-level soldier in the Earth Defense Division, which mostly meant he filled out forms, ran drills in the rain, and occasionally stared at the sky wondering if anything was actually out there. He was ordinary. Completely, totally, honestly ordinary. And that was fine with him. But the galaxy had different plans. It started on a Tuesday. Marcus remembered that clearly because Tuesdays were always the worst day. He had just finished a 6-mile morning run in the cold Manchester drizzle when his commanding officer, General Dawson, called him into the briefing room. The briefing room was a gray box with 1 window and 3 chairs. Nothing good had ever happened in that room. General Dawson was already standing when Marcus walked in. That was unusual. Dawson never stood. He was a man who believed deeply in the power of sitting. There was someone else in the room too. She was not human. Marcus knew that immediately. Not because she looked frightening. Actually, she looked almost calm. She was tall, slightly taller than Marcus, with pale silver skin and eyes the color of deep ocean water. She wore a long dark coat that reached the floor. She had no weapons visible, but Marcus felt in his gut that she did not need any. She looked at Marcus the way a chess player looks at the board, like she was already 3 moves ahead. "Sit down, Cole," Dawson said. Marcus sat. The alien woman spoke first. Her English was perfect. Better than perfect, actually. She spoke like someone who had studied every single word and chosen them all with purpose. "My name is Ambassador Lyrian of the Valorian Accord," she said. "And I am here because your planet has been selected." Marcus glanced at Dawson. Dawson gave him a look that said, "Please just listen, and don't say anything embarrassing." "Selected for what?" Marcus asked. Ambassador Lyrian tilted her head slightly. "The Accord is a coalition of 47 civilizations. We have been watching Earth for approximately 300 of your years. You are young, loud, sometimes violent. But you are also resilient, creative, and you feel things deeply." She paused. "That last quality is rarer than you know." Marcus waited. "Every 30 cycles," Lyrian continued, "the Accord holds a bonding ceremony. Each member civilization sends forward candidates. These candidates are paired. The pairing is permanent. It creates a bond between species that goes beyond politics, beyond treaties. It is personal. It is biological. It is final." Marcus blinked. "You want humans to participate. We want 1 human to participate." Another pause. Longer this time. "We want you, Sergeant Cole." Marcus actually laughed. He couldn't help it. It just came out. A short, sharp, completely involuntary laugh that he immediately regretted when neither Dawson nor Lyrian reacted at all. "Me," Marcus said. "You want me specifically?" "Yes." "Why?" Lyrian looked at him steadily. Because you are average. That was not the answer Marcus was expecting. Thank you, he said slowly. It is not an insult, Lyrian said. The candidate who enters the bonding ceremony must carry no political weight, no fame, no known alliances. The ceremony requires someone the galaxy will not recognize, someone who cannot be manipulated by prior reputation, someone who will react honestly rather than strategically. Someone boring, Marcus said. Someone genuine, Lyrian corrected. Dawson cleared his throat. Cole, this is a massive honor for Earth. The Accord has never invited a human before. This is first contact at the highest possible level. If you agree, you will travel to the Accord's central station. You will participate in the ceremony. And whatever happens, Earth gains protected status under Accord law. 47 civilizations agree not to attack us, not to interfere with us, not to experiment on us. Marcus stared at his commanding officer. And if I say no? Dawson pressed his lips together. Then someone else goes. But Lyrian specifically requested you. Marcus looked at the ambassador again. She was still watching him with those deep ocean eyes, still completely calm. What exactly happens at this ceremony? Marcus asked. You will be blindfolded, Lyrian said. You will stand in a room with other candidates from other civilizations. You will walk forward. You will stop when you feel something. And then you will choose. Choose what? A partner. The word landed heavily. Marcus sat very still for a moment. And I can't see who I'm choosing, no. So I could end up bonded to anyone, yes. Permanently, yes. Marcus exhaled slowly. He looked at the single window in the gray room. Outside it was still raining, still cold. Still Tuesday. He thought about his apartment, his coffee, his old paperback novels, his quiet, ordinary, unremarkable life. Then he thought about 47 civilizations agreeing to leave Earth alone. He thought about every human being on this planet sleeping a little safer because one ordinary soldier from Manchester walked into a room he couldn't see. He looked back at Lyrian. When do we leave? He asked. The journey to the Accord's central station took 4 days in something Lyrian called a corridor ship. It moved through space by folding distance rather than crossing it. Marcus never fully understood the science. He just knew that one moment they were in orbit above Earth, and the next moment they were somewhere completely different, surrounded by stars he had never seen before. The station itself was enormous. It was not shaped like anything Marcus had expected. Not a wheel, not a cylinder, not a box. It looked organic, like something that had grown rather than been built. Great curving arms of pale metal extended outward in every direction. Lights moved through it, like blood moves through veins. Ships of 100 different designs moved around it constantly. Marcus stood at the viewing window for a long time just staring. Lyrian stood beside him. How many people live here? Marcus asked. It is not a place where people live, she said. It is a place where decisions are made. She said it the way people say things that have layers underneath them. Marcus filed that away. He was given a room that was comfortable, but strange. The bed was slightly too wide. The ceiling was slightly too low. The lights adjusted themselves automatically to a color Marcus had no name for, somewhere between blue and gold. He slept better than he expected. In the morning, a different alien came to prepare him for the ceremony. This one was shorter, with 4 arms and a kind face, and the most efficient way of moving Marcus had ever seen. His name, as far as Marcus could pronounce it, was something like Prell. Prell handed Marcus a clean uniform, dark gray, simple, no rank insignia. Why no rank? Marcus asked. In the ceremony room, Prell said carefully, You are not a soldier. You are not from Earth. You are not anything yet. You are only yourself. Marcus put on the uniform. Prell then held up the blindfold. It was dark blue, soft material, simple. Once this goes on, Prell said quietly, trust what you feel, not what you think, not what you know, what you feel. Marcus nodded. He didn't fully understand yet. But he would. The ceremony room was enormous and completely silent when Marcus walked in. He could feel the size of it even without seeing. The air moved differently in large spaces. His footsteps had a slight echo that disappeared quickly, which told him the floor was covered in something soft. He could hear other people in the room, breathing, small movements. He counted at least 12 other candidates nearby. He stood still. He waited. And then, from somewhere across that enormous silent room, he felt something. Not a sound. Not a smell. Not a touch. Something else entirely. Like a pull. Like gravity. But warmer. Like standing near a fire in winter and turning toward it without deciding to. His feet moved before his mind gave permission. He walked forward. He kept walking. He stopped. He raised his hand. He pointed. And the room went absolutely silent. A silence so deep and so sudden that Marcus felt the hair on the back of his neck stand straight up. Then came the sound he would remember for the rest of his life. Someone in the room, someone with a voice like cold steel and distant thunder, said 3 words in a language Marcus did not speak. But Prell, standing somewhere behind him, translated them in a whisper. She says, Prell breathed, that this is impossible. Marcus stood perfectly still. The blindfold was still on. His arm was still extended. His finger was still pointing at whoever he had just chosen. And the entire room was holding its breath. He heard movement, fast, sharp, controlled movement. The kind of movement that belongs to someone who is used to reacting in half a second. Then a voice. Close now. Very close. Low. Careful. Speaking in a language that Marcus did not know. But the tone he understood perfectly. It was the tone of someone who could not believe what was happening. Not angry. Not scared. More like someone who had just seen the laws of physics break down in front of them. Then Prell was beside Marcus again. You may remove the blindfold, Prell said. His 4-armed friend sounded strange. Careful. Like he was choosing each word the way you choose your step on ice. Marcus pulled the blindfold off. He blinked once. Twice. And then he saw her. She was tall. Taller than Marcus by at least 4 inches. She wore armor that Marcus had no words for yet. Silver and gold, but not polished and decorative like something from a museum. This armor had been worn in real fights. There were marks on it. Scratches. A long dark line across the left shoulder plate that looked like a blade had gone across it hard and fast. The armor had memory. It had been through things. Her face was striking in a way that hit Marcus before he could process it properly. Sharp cheekbones. Eyes that were a pale gold color, bright and absolutely focused. Long blonde hair, slightly wild at the edges, like she did not spend much time thinking about it. Pointed ears, delicate but angular, visible through the hair. A crown of dark metal on her head that was not decorative. Marcus could tell that immediately. It was not worn for show. It meant something. She was looking at him with an expression that Marcus would later describe as controlled disbelief. Like she had been surprised by something and was refusing to let that surprise go any further than her eyes. Around them, the room had changed. Other candidates stood in their own pairs, but every single one of them was looking at Marcus and this woman. The Accord officials at the edges of the room were very still. Some of them were communicating silently with devices Marcus couldn't identify. Prell stepped forward. Sergeant Marcus Cole of Earth, he said formally, you have chosen Seraphine Vielle, commander of the Valorian High Guard, warden of the Outer Rim, and the last surviving member of the Vielle bloodline. Marcus looked at Prell, then back at Seraphine. Hi, he said. It was absolutely the wrong thing to say. He knew that the moment it left his mouth. But something happened then that nobody in that room expected. Seraphine Vielle, commander of the Valorian High Guard, the woman that 3 empires had once tried and failed to destroy, looked at Marcus for a long silent moment, and then, very slightly, the corner of her mouth moved. Not a smile. Not quite. But the beginning of something that might become one if given enough time and the right conditions. She looked at Prell. She said something in her language. Prell translated quietly. She says the human is either very brave or very stupid. Probably both, Marcus said. This time the corner of her mouth moved a little more. The bonding protocol required that the two chosen individuals spend 48 hours together inside the station before the bond was officially registered with the Accord. This was a standard procedure. It gave both parties time to understand what had happened and to talk before the formal ceremony. They were given a shared suite. It had 2 separate rooms, a central space with large windows looking out at the stars, and enough space between them that neither person had to feel crowded. Marcus sat in the central space and waited to see what Seraphine would do. She did not sit. She stood at the window and looked out at the stars for a very long time. Marcus watched her quietly. He noticed things. The way she kept her back to the wall even though there was no threat. The way her hand rested close to where a weapon would be, even though she had none visible. The way she breathed slowly and deliberately, like someone who had trained themselves to appear calm even when they were not. She was not calm. Marcus could tell. He didn't know how. He just could. Finally, he spoke. "You can sit down," he said. "I won't bite." She turned from the window. Those gold eyes landed on him with full force. "You do not know who I am," she said. It was not a question. "Prell told me your name," Marcus said. "And your title." The last part sounded impressive. "I am the most dangerous individual in this station," she said. "I am the most dangerous individual on any station. I have ended wars that lasted centuries. I have ended them in months. I have been sent to planets to resolve conflicts, and I have never left a planet without the conflict being resolved." "That sounds exhausting," Marcus said. She stared at him. "Most beings are afraid of me," she said. I noticed the room got very quiet. Marcus agreed. "I'm guessing that's not standard." "No." "Why did they go quiet specifically?" She was silent for a moment. Then she moved away from the window and sat down across from him. Not close. On the opposite side of the space. But she sat, which Marcus counted as progress. "Because nobody chooses me," she said. That is the honest answer. In 4 previous bonding ceremonies I have attended, nobody has ever walked toward me. Most candidates move away from me. They feel what I carry, and they go the other direction. Marcus absorbed this. "What do you carry?" he asked. She looked at him steadily. "Power. A great deal of it. The kind that most living beings find overwhelming when they are near me. Their instincts tell them to be careful, to retreat, to find someone safer. My instincts told me to walk toward you," Marcus said. "Yes," she said quietly. "I noticed. Does that bother you?" Another long pause. "It confuses me," she said finally. "I have not been confused in a long time." Marcus leaned back in his chair and looked out at the stars beyond the window. "I'm from Manchester," he said. "It rains almost every day. I work in a gray building doing mostly paperwork. I read old books that nobody else reads anymore. I live alone and I'm fine with that." He paused. "I have never in my life been the most impressive person in any room, including this one." Seraphine watched him. "Why are you telling me this?" she asked. "Because you told me what you are," Marcus said simply. Seemed fair. She was quiet for a while after that. But when Marcus got up to look for something to eat and asked if she wanted anything, she said yes. And that, later, would be the moment Marcus pointed to when people asked him when exactly everything changed. Not the ceremony, not the pointing, not the room going silent. The moment Seraphine Vielle said yes to a cup of something that vaguely resembled tea in a station far from both of their homes. That was where it started. Over the next 20 hours, they talked. Not constantly. There were long silences. Comfortable ones, mostly. But they talked about real things. Seraphine told him about the Outer Rim, about the wars she had fought, about the 3 empires that had tried to erase her civilization, and how she had outlasted all 3 of them. She told it plainly, without drama, the way soldiers always tell the things that cost them the most. Marcus told her about Earth, about humans. He tried to explain football, and she found the concept of grown people competing over a ball sincerely baffling. He told her about music, and she became genuinely still and interested in a way that surprised him. He told her about the feeling of standing outside on a clear night in winter and looking up at stars you could not yet reach. And she looked at him for a long moment before saying quietly that she had never thought about it from that direction before. At the 36-hour mark, she said something that Marcus was not prepared for. "I need to tell you something about the bonding," she said. Her voice was different, careful in a new way. Marcus looked at her. "It is not only ceremonial," she said. "For my people, a bonding carries a biological component. It activates over time, slowly, but it is real. The bond becomes a connection that both individuals can feel. Emotional states. Physical proximity. In some cases, when the bond matures, fragments of thought." Marcus was very still. "How long does that take?" he asked. "Years," she said. "The first stages are subtle. You may not notice for some time, but it will happen." "Yes. Did you know this before the ceremony?" "Yes. And you still attended." She looked away from him for a moment, out at the stars again. "I attend every ceremony," she said. "I have never expected to be chosen. I attend because the accord requires my presence. I have never—" She paused. "I have never prepared for the possibility of someone actually choosing me." Marcus sat with that for a while. Then he said, "That sounds lonely." And Seraphine Vielle, who had ended wars and outlasted empires, and never been surprised by anything in longer than she could clearly remember, said nothing at all. Because there was nothing to say. Because he was right. The official bonding ceremony happened on the morning of the third day. It was quiet. Far quieter than Marcus expected. Just the two of them, and a small circle of accord officials. Prell was there, standing slightly to the side, his forearms folded neatly. Ambassador Lyrian was present too, watching with an expression Marcus still could not fully read. There were no crowds, no dramatic lighting, no music, just a room with high ceilings and a long window looking out at open space, and two people from different ends of the galaxy standing across from each other, while a very old official read words in a language older than both of their civilizations. Marcus had been given a translation device small enough to fit behind his ear. He could hear the words in English as they were spoken. They were simple words, actually, not full of legal language or ritual complexity. They said, essentially, "From this moment you are connected. Whatever one carries, both carry. Whatever one faces, neither faces alone." He looked at Seraphine while the words were read. She was looking at him too, not with that controlled disbelief from the first moment. Something quieter than that. Something more careful. When it was done, the official pressed a small mark onto the inside of both their wrists. A thin line, faintly luminescent, that faded until it was almost invisible against the skin. Almost, but not quite. And then it was finished. They walked out of the room together into a wide corridor. "That was smaller than I expected," Marcus said. "What did you expect?" Seraphine asked. "I don't know. More fanfare. Something. The bond itself is not small," she said. "The ceremony reflects that. A real thing does not need decoration." Marcus looked at the faint mark on his wrist. In certain lights he could see it clearly. A thin line that pulsed very gently if he was completely still. "Does yours do that too?" he asked. She glanced at her own wrist. "Yes. Does it mean something specific, the pulsing?" She was quiet for a moment. "It means the bond is recognized. It is responding to proximity. When we are close together, it is more active." Marcus held that thought for a second. "So right now," he said, "it's saying we're near each other." "Yes, that's actually kind of beautiful," he said. Seraphine looked at him with that expression again, the one that was not quite a smile but was working toward it. "You are a very strange human," she said. "People keep telling me I'm average," he said. "They are wrong," she said simply. And then she kept walking. Marcus stood still for exactly 1 second before following. They had been given an extended stay at the station, 3 more weeks, which the accord described as an integration period. Time for both parties to adjust to the bond before returning to their respective lives. The question of what returning to their lives would look like was something neither of them raised for the first few days. Marcus spent his mornings exploring the station. It was genuinely extraordinary. 47 civilizations all present in one place meant 47 different approaches to architecture, food, technology, and basic daily life all existing side by side. He got lost twice in the same afternoon in a section that seemed to rearrange itself. He found a food stall run by a six-limbed being who communicated entirely in color changes and made something that tasted exactly like a good meat pie. He went back the next day and the day after that. Seraphine was often busy. She had communications to handle, a court business. Political matters that she dealt with efficiently and without apparent stress, though Marcus noticed she was always slightly tighter in the shoulders after those meetings. But evenings they spent together. It became a pattern without either of them deciding it. Marcus would be back in their shared suite by the time the station's artificial lighting shifted to its evening spectrum. A warm amber glow that softened everything. And Seraphine would arrive not long after. Sometimes she brought work that she finished in silence. Sometimes she asked Marcus questions about Earth that were so specific and so genuinely curious that he realized she had been thinking about them all day. She wanted to know about human conflict resolution. She found it baffling that humans could be at war for years and then become allies. She had seen this in her own experience with humanity's history, and she could not understand the emotional mechanism that made it possible. Marcus thought about it carefully before answering. "I think," he said slowly, "it's because humans are very good at deciding that someone used to be the enemy." Past tense. We're not always good at a lot of things. But we're surprisingly good at choosing to let something be in the past instead of the present. Seraphine was quiet for a long time after that. "That is a very powerful ability," she said finally. "We mostly use it badly," Marcus admitted. "Most powerful abilities are mostly used badly," she said. "That does not make the ability less valuable." On the 9th day, something happened that neither of them had been prepared for. Marcus woke up at 3 in the morning with a feeling that was not his own. He lay in the dark and understood immediately what it was. Not fear exactly. More like the feeling of standing on a very high ledge and knowing intellectually that the fall would be survivable, but feeling the height anyway. A cold, quiet kind of alone. He got up. He went to the central room. Seraphine was already there, sitting on the floor beside the window. Not doing anything. Just sitting. Her armor was off. She was wearing something plain and dark. She looked different without the armor. Younger. More breakable, though Marcus suspected that was an illusion. She looked up when he came in. She did not look embarrassed or defensive. She just looked at him. Honestly. "Did you feel that?" she asked. "Yes," he said. He sat down on the floor beside her, not touching, just near. "It was stronger than I expected," she said, "at this stage. I apologize. I did not mean to wake you." "You didn't do it on purpose," Marcus said. "No. So don't apologize for it." She looked at him sideways. "Do you dream?" she asked. "Yes," Marcus said. "Do you?" "We do not call it that," she said. "But yes. Something similar." She paused. "I was thinking about something before you came in." "You don't have to tell me," Marcus said. "I know," she said. And then she told him anyway. "I have been in 17 conflicts," she said. "I have been in more battles than I can name without counting. I have watched people I trained die in front of me. I have made decisions that I knew would cost lives, and I made them anyway because the alternative cost more." She looked at her hands. "I carry all of it. Every name. Every face. I carry them the way other people carry beliefs." Marcus said nothing. Just listened. "I have never told anyone that," she said. "Not because I was forbidden. Because there was no one who I believed would hear it and simply let it be what it was. I'm hearing it," Marcus said. "And I'm letting it be what it is." Seraphine looked at him for a long moment. "Yes," she said quietly. "I know." They sat there until the station lighting shifted back toward morning, and by the time amber became gold, and the stars outside the window began to disappear behind the reflected light of a nearby sun, something had changed between them that was beyond the bond, and beyond the ceremony, and beyond anything the accord had officially registered. Something real. Something chosen. At the end of the third week, the question that neither of them had raised finally had to be answered. They were sitting at the long table in their suite, having what had become a normal morning. Marcus with his attempt at coffee made from whatever the station's kitchen produced that was closest to coffee beans. Seraphine with something dark green that she drank in 3 precise sips every day and that Marcus had once tried and immediately regretted. Prell arrived to give them both their departure schedules. Marcus was due back on Earth in 4 days. Seraphine was expected at the Outer Rim in 6. Both of them looked at the schedules. Neither of them spoke for a moment. This is the part they don't explain well in the briefing, Marcus said finally. No, Seraphine agreed. Prell, to his credit, excused himself very quickly. The bond, as Seraphine had told Marcus early on, was real, not symbolic, not political. The Accord recognized it legally across all 47 civilizations. But it did not come with instructions about logistics. 2 people from opposite ends of the galaxy, with completely different responsibilities, completely different conflicts, completely different worlds, were now connected in a way that would only deepen over time. There was no simple answer to what came next. I have to go back, Marcus said. Not explaining, just stating. Earth needs the protected status formally activated. General Dawson will need a full debrief. There are things I have to do there. I know, Seraphine said. And you have to go to the Rim. Yes. How long will you be there? It depends on what I find, she said. There is a conflict developing. 2 species disputing resource rights on a border moon. It could be resolved quickly. It could take time. But you'll come back, Marcus said. He meant it as a statement, but it came out slightly like a question. Seraphine looked at him. The bond does not make distance comfortable, she said. As it matures, separation becomes more noticeable. Over time, it can become actively difficult. I didn't hear an answer in there, Marcus said. She met his eyes. Yes, she said. I will come back. Okay, Marcus said. That is all? She asked. Just okay? What else do you want me to say? Marcus asked. You said you'll come back. I trust you. Seraphine set down her green drink very carefully. Nobody has said that to me in a very long time, she said. That they trust you? That simply, she said. Marcus shrugged. You've been honest with me from the beginning. You've told me the things that were hard to tell. You didn't have to do any of that. You could have been just the person in the armor who the room was afraid of. He paused. But you weren't. So yes, I trust you. Seraphine was quiet for a long time. Then she stood up from the table. She walked to the window. Marcus thought she needed space, and he gave it to her. But she stopped after 2 steps and turned back. When I am at the Rim, she said, the bond will allow you to know when I am well. Not in detail. Just a sense. A presence. Like the warmth, Marcus said. He knew what she meant. In the days since the ceremony, the mark on his wrist had become something he was always quietly aware of. Not intrusively. Just there. Like the sound of rain against a window. Present. Familiar. Comforting in a way he had not expected. Yes, she said. If it goes quiet, that is when you worry. Has it gone quiet before? For people you were bonded to? I have never been bonded before, she said simply. Marcus stood up from the table. He walked over to where she was standing. He did not touch her. They had not touched beyond what the ceremony required. But he stood close enough that the marks on both their wrists were clearly active, pulsing with a gentle rhythm that was already synchronized. Don't let it go quiet, he said. She looked at the synchronized marks on their wrists for a moment. I will not, she said. The 4 days before departure were good ones. Marcus explored more of the station. Sometimes Seraphine came with him. She was not comfortable with being seen in casual spaces, and Marcus understood that. Being known as the most dangerous individual in any room makes it hard to simply wander through a food market without creating a force field of caution around you. But she came anyway. He introduced her to the 6-limbed food vendor, who made something like a meat pie. The vendor, whose color language Marcus still could not read at all, changed to a very bright pattern when Seraphine appeared. Prell, who was passing by, glanced over and said quietly to Marcus that the vendor was apparently expressing deep honor and some degree of personal terror. Marcus told Seraphine that. She looked at the vendor, made a small, deliberate gesture with one hand that Prell said was a formal acknowledgement of respect in about 9 different cultures, and the vendor immediately produced a second meat pie without being asked. "You didn't have to do that," Marcus said as they walked away. "The vendor was frightened," she said. "It cost me nothing to reduce that. It cost them a great deal to live with it." Marcus looked at her sideways. "You know," he said, "for the galaxy's most dangerous woman, you're pretty thoughtful." She said nothing, but she kept walking beside him. On the night before departure, they sat at the window again. It had become their place. Not by decision, just by pattern. Both of them looking out at the same stars from the same place. "I don't know what I'm going home to," Marcus said. "I mean, I know. Debriefs. Paperwork. Questions I can't fully answer. People looking at me differently because apparently the whole planet knows I'm the human who got bonded." "They know?" Seraphine asked. "Dawson told me the Accord announcement went to all member civilizations simultaneously," Marcus said. "Earth is a member civilization now. So yes, people know." He paused. "Does that bother you?" she asked. "Not really," he said honestly. "Does it bother you?" She considered this carefully. "People already know what I am," she said. "Learning who my bond partner is will not change their opinions of me significantly, though some will be surprised. Because I'm human? Because you are not afraid of me." Marcus turned to look at her directly. "Why would I be afraid of you?" She met his gaze. "Most people," she said, "see what I have done and are afraid of what I could do to them." "I see what you've done," Marcus said, "and I think you did it because you had to. And I think carrying all those names the way you carry them, because you told me you do, means you are not someone who does it lightly." Seraphine looked at him for a long moment. "You see things clearly," she said. "Not usually," Marcus said. "I think it's you specifically." The corner of her mouth moved again. Further this time. "Sleep," she said finally. "You leave early." Marcus stood up. He looked at his wrist for a moment. The mark was steady, warm, and present. "Stay safe out there," he said. "Always," she said. He went to his room. And lying in the dark before sleep came, Marcus realized something that settled into him quietly, like something that had always been true, and was only now being recognized. He was not afraid of what came next. Not the questions waiting on Earth. Not the changes, not the bond growing stronger over distance, not the galaxy that had just expanded around him in every direction. None of it frightened him, and he knew exactly why. Earth was different when Marcus came back. Not physically. Manchester was still gray and rainy. The building where he worked still had that one broken fluorescent light in the second-floor hallway that nobody ever fixed. His apartment was exactly as he had left it. Coffee mug by the sink. 3 books face down on the bedside table, running shoes by the door. Everything was the same. Except that he was not. The debrief with General Dawson took 2 full days. Then there was a debrief with someone senior to Dawson. Then with someone senior to that person. Then with 3 people from a department that Marcus had not known existed, who asked questions that were so specific about Seraphine that Marcus realized they had been researching her extensively, and were either very impressed or very frightened, possibly both. He answered what he could. He kept certain things private, not by instruction but by instinct. Some things belonged only to the 2 of them, and he had no intention of putting them into official documents. Ambassador Lyrian arrived on Earth formally 2 weeks after Marcus returned. The Accord's protected status was officially registered. It was announced globally. The reaction varied. Most humans were stunned. Some were delighted. Some were suspicious. A very vocal few were angry, which Marcus had expected, and which Lyrian seemed to regard with a kind of patient endurance. Marcus became, somewhat against his will, a public figure. Not famous exactly, more like significant. People wanted to talk to him. Media wanted interviews. Scientists wanted data on the bond itself. His phone stopped being useful as a phone because it was constantly full of messages from people he had never met. He mostly tried to ignore all of it and go for runs. Running helped. It always had. The rhythm of it. The rain. The familiar streets. The way his body knew exactly what to do even when everything else felt uncertain. About 3 weeks after returning, the bond did something new. Marcus was on a run. Early morning. Barely light. When he felt it. Not the steady warm pulse he had gotten used to. Something sharper. Brief. Like someone knocking on a door quickly and then stepping back. He stopped running. He stood in the middle of the street in the Manchester rain and pressed his wrist against his chest for a moment. And then, for just a second, he felt something that was not his. Satisfaction. Sharp, clean, immediate satisfaction. The feeling of something hard being resolved. He stood there until it faded. Then he smiled. She had resolved the border conflict on the rim. He knew it the same way he knew when rain was going to stop. Just a feeling that was completely certain. He started running again. That evening he received a message through the Accord communication system, a device Lyrian had left for him before returning to the station. The message was brief. Text only. No image. It said, "The moon is stable. 2 parties reached agreement. I leave for the station in the morning." The bond carried further than expected. "I felt your morning clearly." Marcus wrote back, "I felt yours too. Congratulations." Her reply came quickly, "You were running." He wrote, "How did you know that?" She wrote, "You feel different when you run. Lighter." He held the communication device for a while. Then he wrote, "Come back when you can." She wrote, "Yes." 2 months passed. In those 2 months, Marcus received 7 brief messages. He sent 11. The messages were not long, but they were honest. He told her about the public attention and how strange he found it. She told him about 3 smaller conflicts she had been asked to resolve after the moon situation. He told her about a conversation he had with a group of schoolchildren who had somehow found out who he was and asked him about 47 questions in 4 minutes. She sent back only, "I would like to have seen that." He described it in detail. She wrote, "You are good with young minds. That is rare." He wrote, "You would be too, if you tried." She did not respond to that immediately. But when she did, hours later she wrote only, "Perhaps." The bond continued to develop. Marcus noticed it most at night. Not dramatically. Just a presence in his awareness, like a room in a house where someone else is sleeping. You know they are there. You cannot see or hear them directly. But you feel it. The house is not empty. He slept better knowing that. On a Thursday evening in late autumn, 73 days after Marcus had returned to Earth, his communication device showed an incoming message from Accord Transit Records. It said, "Registered arrival, Seraphine Vael, Valorian High Guard. Destination, Earth, Northern Region, United Kingdom. ETA, 14 hours. Marcus read it 3 times. Then he went to clean his apartment, which he had been meaning to do for at least 3 weeks. She arrived in the morning. A small Accord vessel, not a warship, something personal and fast and low profile, landed in a designated zone outside the city. The government had been notified. There was a small official reception arranged that Marcus had been told to attend. He attended. He stood in the right place. He said the right things to the right people. And then the formalities were done, and the officials stepped back and Seraphine walked toward him directly. She was in her armor. Of course she was. He had not expected otherwise. She stopped in front of him. She looked at him. He looked at her. The marks on both their wrists were very active. "You cleaned your apartment," she said. Marcus laughed. He couldn't help it. "How do you know that?" "You felt busy last night in a domestic way," she said. And then satisfied. "I made an inference." "That is either very impressive or very unsettling," he said. "Probably both," she said. And this time, the corner of her mouth went all the way. It was a real smile. Small. But real. Marcus had known it would be worth waiting for. He had just not known how worth it. Seraphine stayed on Earth for 3 weeks the first time. She did not stay quietly. This was Seraphine Vielle. Nothing she did was quiet simply by nature of who she was. On the second day, an Accord diplomatic issue arose that required her physical presence in Manchester of all places. An alien species had sent an unauthorized vessel into Earth's atmosphere, a young civilization, reckless and curious rather than hostile, but the Accord required a formal response. Seraphine handled it in 2 hours. The alien vessel returned to where it came from. Earth's airspace was formally protected under 2 additional Accord clauses, and the young civilization sent what Prell later described as the equivalent of a very sincere apology, combined with a request to keep in touch. Seraphine told Marcus about this over dinner, which by now was simply what they did in the evenings. She described it the way she always described her work. Plainly. Efficiently. Without drama. Marcus listened the way he always listened. Fully. Without interrupting. When she finished, he said, "You could have made that much more complicated." "Why would I do that?" she asked. "Most people would have," he said. "It was an opportunity to demonstrate authority. Make an example. Make them afraid." "Fear is a tool," she said. "A poor one. It requires constant maintenance. A resolution that leaves the other party with dignity lasts longer." Marcus looked at her. "You should teach," he said. She paused mid-drink. "What?" "The Accord's integration program," he said. "Lyrian mentioned it to me last week. New species joining the coalition. They need guidance on how to handle conflict in a multi-civilizational context. You have more experience in this than anyone alive." Seraphine set her cup down. "I am a soldier," she said. "You're a soldier who ends conflicts," Marcus said. "That is different from a soldier who fights them." She was quiet for a long time. Then, "You think in directions I do not expect." "That's the most flattering thing you've said to me," Marcus told her. "I have said many flattering things," she said. "You've said I'm genuine, and that I see clearly, and that I'm good with young minds," Marcus said. "Those are compliments. That last one is a compliment wrapped in a mission." Seraphine looked at him with an expression that was new. Something warmer than he had seen before. Something that had not been there in the ceremony room, or in the first 48 hours, or even in the months of careful messages. Something that had grown. On the last night before her scheduled departure, they walked. Marcus had discovered early that Seraphine liked walking. Not purposeful walking, just moving through space without destination. He suspected it was because it felt like scouting. Like something her body understood as useful. But whatever the reason, she was easier when she was moving. They walked through the city late at night when it was quiet. The rain had stopped for once. The streets were damp and reflective. Every streetlight had a double. Every passing car left a streak of color on the wet ground. Seraphine walked beside him in civilian clothes. He had found her a long coat, dark, with a high collar, which she approved of. She had left the armor at the apartment. She still moved like the armor was on, but she had left it. "There is something I should tell you," she said as they walked. Marcus glanced at her. Her voice had the careful quality it got when she was about to say something that mattered. "Tell me," he said. "The Accord has offered me a permanent assignment," she said. "Based out of the central station. Conflict mediation at the highest level. I would be stationed there indefinitely. It is the most significant role they have offered any individual in 40 years. Marcus absorbed this. "When do you have to decide?" he asked. "Before I leave tomorrow," she said. They walked in silence for a moment. "What are you thinking?" she asked. "I'm thinking," Marcus said carefully, "that it sounds like exactly the right thing for you. That it's what you're built for. Not fighting. Ending fighting. It would mean," she said, "that I am not on the rim. I am not in conflict zones. I am not where I have always been." "Is that bad?" Marcus asked. "I do not know," she said honestly. "It is different. I have been a weapon for a long time. Being asked to be a solution is something I am still learning." "You've been a solution every time I've seen you," Marcus said. She stopped walking. He stopped too. She turned to face him. The streetlight was directly above them. Her gold eyes caught the light and held it. "There is something else," she said. "Tell me," he said again. "The station," she said. "It is not Earth. It is not Manchester. But it is central, reachable. And the Accord has provisions for bond partners. Residency provisions. You would be able to live there, part of the time. If you chose." Marcus held very still. "Are you asking me to come with you?" he asked. "I am telling you it is possible," she said carefully. "I am not asking. You have a life here. A world here. I would not." "Seraphin," he said. She stopped. "I live in a gray apartment in Manchester," he said. "I do paperwork and drink too much coffee and read books that nobody else reads. My world is fine, but it is fine the way a room is fine before you open the window." She looked at him. "You opened the window," he said. The marks on their wrists were fully lit in the lamplight. Synchronized. Steady. She reached out then, for the first time, and touched his hand. Not a dramatic gesture, not a scene from anything. Just a hand resting over his. "I should tell you one more thing," she said quietly. "What?" "The danger," she said. "I am still exactly what I am. Where I go, conflict follows, or I am sent toward it. The people who could not destroy me have tried to destroy those near me. Being beside me is not safe." Marcus turned his hand over so that their palms were together. "I'm a soldier," he said. "I signed up for not safe. You signed up for paperwork," she said. "I signed up for whatever Earth needed," he said. "And right now, Earth needs someone standing next to the most important diplomat in the Accord, making sure she remembers that she's allowed to put the armor down sometimes." Seraphine was quiet for a long time. The city was quiet around them. The wet streets reflected the light perfectly. Above the city, the clouds had pulled back enough to show stars. "Nobody told me," she said finally. "Told you what?" he asked. "That this was possible," she said. "That someone would choose me. That it would be—" She paused, searching for the word. "That it would be this." Marcus looked at her. At the crown, and the pointed ears, and the gold eyes, and the hand that had ended wars, and was now resting in his. "Nobody told me either," he said. "I was just a guy in a gray building who went to a room he couldn't see and pointed at someone." "Why did you walk toward me?" she asked. It was the first time she had asked directly. Marcus thought about it honestly. "Because whatever you were carrying," he said, "it felt worth walking toward. Not away from." She looked at him for a long moment. Then she said, "I accept the Accord's offer." "Good," he said. "And you?" she asked. He looked up at the stars above Manchester. Stars he knew now had names. Stars with civilizations around them. A galaxy that had been abstract and romantic in old paperback novels and was now simply where his life was going. "I'll need to pack," he said. She made a sound. Low and quiet. It took Marcus a moment to realize it was a laugh. A real one. Small and unguarded and completely genuine. He had been waiting for that too. And it was worth every second. The universe, as it turned out, had known exactly what it was doing when it put a blindfold on a man from Manchester and pointed him at the most dangerous woman in the galaxy. The universe had been paying attention all along, it just had not told him. So here is the thing that nobody talks about. The real twist in this story is not that Marcus chose Seraphine. It is that Seraphine had attended 4 bonding ceremonies before that day. 4 times she stood in a room. 4 times the ceremony began. 4 times everyone in the room felt what she carried and moved away. And 4 times she walked out alone, back to the armor, back to the wars, back to the long silence of being someone nobody wanted to stand next to. She had stopped expecting anything different. That is the most important detail. Not Marcus's bravery. Not the bond. Not the galaxy-level politics. The most important detail is that she had given up. And the universe sent her a blindfolded soldier from Manchester anyway. The truth behind stories like this, and this is where real life meets the stars, is that the most powerful things in any world are not weapons, or armies, or political treaties. They are the moments when someone sees what you carry and walks toward it instead of away. Marcus did not know who Seraphine was when he chose her. He only knew what he felt. And what he felt was worth moving toward. That is the revelation this story hides in plain sight. That the galaxy's most dangerous woman was also the galaxy's most alone woman. And that the most ordinary man available turned out to be exactly the right one. Not because he was special. Because he was genuine. If this opened your eyes to something real inside a story about stars and soldiers, and one very important blindfold, then the next video is waiting for you right now. It goes deeper, it gets stranger, and it has an ending that this one was quietly setting up all along. Click it. You will not regret it. Let's bring it all back together before you go. This story gave us 3 things worth keeping. First, the universe does not explain its choices. It just makes them. Marcus had no reason to be in that room. Seraphine had no reason to still be attending those ceremonies. And yet there they were. The right moment does not announce itself. It just arrives. You have to be paying attention. Second, power and loneliness are not opposites. Seraphine Vael could end wars. She could resolve in weeks what others could not resolve in centuries. And she went home alone every single time. The size of what someone carries does not tell you how well supported they are. The strongest people you know are often carrying the most without a single person beside them. Remember that. Third, genuine is rarer than impressive. Marcus was not the most qualified, not the most decorated, not the most strategically valuable human the Accord could have asked for. He was honest. He was present. He listened, and he meant what he said. In a galaxy full of political maneuvering and carefully managed appearances, a person who is simply real stands out like a star in daylight. Those are the 3 things. Hold on to them. Now here's what I want you to do right now. If this story hit something in you, hit the like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people who want exactly this kind of storytelling. Every like tells the algorithm that real, thoughtful, emotional sci-fi is worth putting in front of more eyes. Subscribe if you are not already here. New stories drop regularly, and every single one is built to give you something to think about long after the video ends. Hit the notification bell so you do not miss the next one, because the next one connects directly to what you just watched in a way you will not see coming. And if you want to go deeper into the world of hi-fi science fiction, human stories in a galaxy that underestimates us, the link in the description takes you to our full series playlist. In order. Starting from the beginning, perfect for a long evening, when you want to disappear into something worth disappearing into. This week's community question, and I genuinely want to hear your answer in the comments below, is this. When Marcus felt that pull in the ceremony room and walked toward Seraphine without seeing her, he was following something he could not explain. A feeling. An instinct. Something beyond logic. Has that ever happened to you? Have you ever made a choice you could not explain at the time that turned out to be exactly right? Tell me in the comments. The best answers will be read at the start of the next video. Because the best stories are not just the ones we tell, they are the ones you bring to the conversation. See you in the next one.